I went downstairs to get all my filming equipment. I also got ice cream. So you guys can just chill for a moment while I eat this. It's just vanilla. Don't get too excited. I can wait. I want to clear something up. Just for reference, this isn't the actual Australian flag. It's the booting flag from Bart vs. Australia. It's got a boot and it's got a bum on it. That was the perfect accompaniment to my kink house. Also, meow, I'm a cat. This poncho has a tail. Does your poncho have a tail? That would be cool if it did. Okay, everybody, let's get stuck into it. This is chapter 6 of Littleland. Vanessa's eyes sprang open in surprise and mild panic as she felt herself being lowered. When she looked around the room she'd been carried to, she noted that she was in a bedroom of sorts. Painted a sunny yellow, the room had been divided into cubicles, the walls of which did not reach the ceiling, and instead stopped a few inches short of Miss Mia's hip. Vanessa's cubicle contained a rug, a chest of drawers, a rocking chair, a small bookcase, several stuffed animals, and a large crib she'd been placed inside. The lazy feeling of calm that she'd experienced moments earlier dissipated, and all at once the lump returned to her throat. The emotional discomfort must have registered on her face, because Miss Mia began to gently stroke her hair. "Shh, darling," she said in a low, soft voice. "It's okay. You're safe." Vanessa whimpered with fear and grasped the bars of her crib between two fists, as if to test their strength. As predicted, the wood was strong, with little to no give. Oh, hang on. I brought a prop for this. "I don't want to sleep in a crib," she said from behind the pacifier, tilting her head downwards to hide the fact that her eyes were once again welling up with tears. She had been looking forward to sleep. The past few hours had drained her energy reserves. It hadn't occurred to her, however, that her sleeping quarters would be like this. "It's for your safety, sweetheart," said Miss Mia, peeling back the covers and motioning for Vanessa to lie down. "You're so small, we don't want you falling out of bed. That would be a big bump." Vanessa didn't move. She just concentrated on her tightly balled fists, an attempt to steady her heart, which hammered in her chest. Vanessa heard Miss Mia give a gentle sigh, and once again she was hoisted into the air. Miss Mia sat down on the rocking chair and settled Vanessa in her lap. "I know, honey," she said, gently patting Vanessa on the back as one might do to soothe an infant with colic. "We can take all the time you need." Vanessa became aware of a feeling in her stomach that caught her by surprise. Relief. As soon as she'd been removed from the crib and returned to being cradled, her heartbeat calmed. Vanessa didn't understand it. How was it possible that she could go from being terrified of this woman to relief at her touch in a little under an hour and a half? Had there been something in that bottle other than formula? Some brain-altering chemical that had broken down her defenses and bonded her to a caregiver? Knockout drops? Miss Mia interrupted her paranoid thoughts with a question. "How about we read a story? Would you like to pick one out?" Miss Mia removed Vanessa's pacifier. Miss Mia removed Vanessa's pacifier and gestured to the little bookshelf that sat aside the short cubicle wall. Vanessa, grateful for the interruption, picked a brightly coloured book from the shelf, one that she'd enjoyed when she was small. Well, actually small. "Oh, I adore this one," said Miss Mia, a hint of genuine delight in her voice. "We can read this in one moment, but first there's something we need to do." Vanessa immediately began to panic. This was it. She was about to be upended over Miss Mia's lap and spanked within an inch of her life. She was about to be punished for her escape attempt. She just knew it. "First, we need to pick out a Storytime companion." Miss Mia pointed to a row of stuffed animals adorning the top of the bookcase. Once again, the relief was immediate, as was Vanessa's selection. Before she'd even had the chance to feel self-conscious about her enthusiasm, she'd blurted out, "Bunny!" Miss Mia smiled knowingly and retrieved the fluffy rabbit, who was mint green and had floppy ears. "What's his name?" asked Miss Mia, sitting the bunny up on her knee opposite Vanessa. Vanessa thought for a moment. "Chip," she decided, the colour conjuring images of ice cream. "Chip is a fine name," said Miss Mia, puppeting the stuffed animal and making his small paws clap together. "Chip seems to like it too." Miss Mia proffered the toy to Vanessa, who took it with just a hair too much enthusiasm. Vanessa held him close, rubbing her fingers repetitively over the soft fabric. Miss Mia leaned back, Vanessa and Chip in her arms. She opened the book and began to read. With the story completed, Vanessa was readily tucked into the crib that would belong to her for the next 30 nights. Miss Mia had leaned down and planted a gentle kiss on Vanessa's forehead before turning out the light above her cubicle and retreating elsewhere. Vanessa felt a rush of some quietly pleasurable emotion that she couldn't quite place. All she knew was that she felt the most settled that she had felt since arriving. That is, until a voice in the darkness caused a notion to occur to her. "Hey, does anyone else really have to pee?" asked Aiden, whose voice seemed to come from the cubicle directly to her left. Vanessa's stomach dropped. Yes, she did, now that she thought about it. Surprisingly, she hadn't paid too much attention to her new underclothes once she'd been dressed and carried to her cubicle. Now it was all she could focus on. The plastic covering crinkled as Vanessa shifted uncomfortably under the covers. "Yes," said Piper, directly across from Vanessa. "Just relax and go." "No," he said, as if his voice was muffled by covers. "I can't do that." "You're gonna have to eventually," said Piper, matter-of-factly. "Think about it," she said, standing up in her crib to peer across the room at Aiden. "Have you seen a single toilet since you got here?" Silence. Piper folded her arms. "Yep, you've got no option," she said. "It's embarrassing at first, but you get used to it. Plus, it's warm." "Oh God, I forgot you're here for fun," said Danny from across the room. "Do you actually like wearing diapers?" "Yep," said Piper, grandly and without a hint of shame. "They're awesome. I'm peeing right now." Aiden gave a laugh that somehow encompassed both disgust and mild intrigue. "Oh! That easy?" he asked, and sprang to his feet. Vanessa could see the top of his neon-coloured head over the divider. She also stood to hear the conversation, and unsteadily padded over to the corner of her crib. "You're fucking nasty," said Danny, good-naturedly. "Hey," countered Piper, "you're going to have to be every bit as nasty as me pretty soon, unless you plan on not peeing for the next month." Danny shrugged. "And I'd watch out if I were you with that kind of language," she chided, mockingly wagging her finger in Danny's direction. "Your caretaker will tan your hide." Vanessa couldn't tell, but in the dim light, Danny appeared to blanch slightly. "Or drink your blood," added Aiden, giving a mock shiver, which Vanessa reciprocated genuinely. Dr. Gilbert's gothic visage didn't cause her any worry, but his stern expression made her stomach fill with dread. "Nah, though," said Piper, leaning against the crib railing. "He's strict for sure, but he isn't mean." Frank mumbled something inaudible, and all four heads swung towards the previously silent cubicle. "What?" she called. "Speak up, Francois." "I said," repeated Frank in an irritated tone, "ask Danny if he thinks Dr. Vlad isn't mean." Danny glared daggers in Frank's direction. "What do you mean?" asked Aiden, once more cocking his head to the left. "Ah, I get it," said Piper, nodding in realization. "The escape attempt." Vanessa felt a pang of guilt. The attempt had been her idea, and she hadn't been punished for it, but Danny had. "Oh," said Vanessa, quietly. "Danny, I'm so sorry." Danny distractedly kicked the bars of his crib. Yeah, don't worry, it wasn't that bad. Oh, really? Said Frank. That's not what I heard. Frank, don't, warned Danny. Oh, please, ow, please stop. Oh, my ass, please, Dr. Gilbert, please stop, mimicked Frank. Danny's pallor had been replaced with a shade of furious red. The second I get out of here, I'm going to kick your fucking ass, he said in a threatening undertone. A light breeze could kick yours for me after what just happened, returned Frank, along with a glare. Hey, cried Piper, stop it! This whole place is wired with cameras and microphones. So? Asked Aiden. So, she said exasperatedly, they know we tried to escape. We're all gonna get punished for it. It just hasn't happened yet. Not me, said Frank smugly. I didn't try to escape. Yeah, but they also heard what you just said, said Piper. So you're in for it too, and you have no reason to taunt him for crying, said Piper, pointing at Danny, when you're just as likely to wail like a little boy when Gil spanks you, which he will, probably tomorrow. All trace of smugness drained quickly from Frank's face. So you need to say sorry, Frank, said Piper. Vanessa noted that this was the first time she hadn't jokingly used Frank's full name, which only amplified the gravity of Piper's ongoing speech. That little imitation wasn't cool. And you, said Piper, now addressing Danny, really, and I mean really need to stop swearing. And you aren't going to kick anyone's butt. None of us get to be smug right now. We're all in the same position. We're all in giant cribs, wearing diapers, some of which are wet, and we're all in imminent danger of being freaking walloped, said Piper, her hand gestures becoming wilder by the minute. Especially me, because I definitely should have known better than to try to escape, and I just called him Gil, which he absolutely, positively cannot stand, and now I'm yelling at the top of my voice, which they can definitely hear. So we are all 100% equally effed in the A. So can you please all just... Piper paused, frantically searching her mind for the end of her sentence. Be nice to each other! Piper's speech had reached a crescendo. Her voice echoed off the walls of the almost silent bedroom. All that could be heard was the sound of Piper, who was gasping for breath after her tirade. Though the conflict had been tinged with humour, Vanessa's heart thumped. Arguments tended to send Vanessa's anxiety through the roof, and the tension in the room was thick. Wow, said Danny, breaking the silence first. Sorry, man, I'm not gonna kick your, He paused, cautiously looking at Piper. But... Frank, whose gaze was still fixed firmly on the ground, nodded. Sorry I mocked you. That wasn't... I didn't... Frank trailed off, supporting his forehead with one open palm. Yeah, no worries, man, it's all good, said Danny, affably, yet awkwardly. Like she said, like, all in the same boat or whatever. Frank nodded and gave a small, only slightly strained smile. Piper sighed with relief. Oh, thank God, she said, relaxing. Sorry I yelled. What were we talking about? I needed to pee, said Aiden, brightly, seemingly unaffected by the previously strained atmosphere in the room, which was slowly returning to normal. Oh yeah, said Piper. Wait, needed to? As in past tense? Asked Vanessa, her eyes widening, a small smile appearing on her lips. I just stopped thinking about it and it happened, he said, shrugging his shoulders. Now that I think about it, though, it used to happen to me all the time when I was a kid. I'd zone out, focusing on something else, and before I knew it, time to change my pants. Piper laughed. She was right, though, said Aiden, pointing towards Piper. It was weird at first, but now I can't even tell. And that's the end of that chapter. I was trying to do the max power thing from The Simpsons, like with my hair as a scarf. Okay, my hair's not long enough. And it won't be this long for long. I'm going to the hairdresser tomorrow. So pretty soon you guys are going to see me with a completely new do. Still don't know what I'm about to cut it like, but I guess I'll find out tomorrow morning. See you guys on Thursday for the regular video on Thursday. And I'll see you next Tuesday for chapter 7. Bye everybody. Sleep sweet.